Video Guys, News Day Tuesday at 2 p.m. You give us 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to teach you all about the products we sell. Today's show is all about Avid. I just got back from the Avid Global Sales Conference. Tons of cool things that I can't tell you about, but I am going to tell you about the stuff I can tell you about, and I'm also going to say that you definitely want to come to Avid Connect. If you're into this industry and you do video editing, if you're a video production house, if you're a post facility, Avid Connect is the big event you want to be at. That starts Saturday before NAB. You can go to avid.com and sign up. I think they're still offering $100 off if you sign up, so definitely do that. I have on the screen with me my man Glen Seaman. He is an Avid workflow specialist, works with us and other Avid dealers throughout the country to help us design systems and solutions for our customers that meet their needs. Today's show, Glen, is going to be on a kind of specific model of what you need, but what we got to stress here is there's unlimited flexibility with this. Just because we're showing a certain combination of products doesn't mean that's going to work for everyone. Glen, you'll actually work with us and the customer to go over their needs and what they have already and what they're going to go with, correct?
Yeah, no, my goal is to kind of help them figure out the best workflow, the best product combination, and really make it easy and kind of fill in the knowledge gaps and be their in-house expert.
Yeah, we've done some Avid shows before when we got into the workflows, but what we're trying to bring now is, I really mistitled this. If you look at the graphics, it says Avid Video Production Workflow Solutions. It's really for small work groups. That's what we're going to focus on today. When you're, let's say, 3 or 4 people working together, maybe up to 10 people. You can be bigger than that, but an example is, let's say you're in an ad agency and you want to have your own in-house video production team, or maybe a big corporate 500 in their marketing department wants to start producing some videos together. The key to a workflow solution is it's not a bunch of independent guys working on their own. It's a team working together, sharing media, sharing files, working on the same projects. We can have, we're focusing on Avid here, but everything we're talking about, we're assuming there's someone working on Photoshop, someone working on After Effects, maybe even have someone on DaVinci Resolve doing some finishing. The concept is working together, working efficiently, and producing the best creative product you can. So Glen, I'm going to start the show now, and I'm going to go into my first slide. And I think if you see this, if we could just bring it up full screen, Eddie, this slide that's over my shoulder. This is our Avid workflow slide that we're talking about. Now, if you bring it back over my shoulder, I don't think we need it to be full screen, but we're focusing on several things here. We've got the Nexus Pro as the heart of it. The Nexus Pro is the shared storage solution. We're going to go into that into a little more in depth. We've got the Media Composer software. We're going to be talking about workstations. We're going to be talking about workstations with I/O boxes. So this is a HP Z4 with a DNX ID. They're low cost, under $1,000 box. But we also understand that in a workflow solution, typically what happens is there's one killer machine in the shop. That's the machine that's going to be doing transcoding, ingest, rendering, your big projects on. And with that one, we're putting a DNX IQ box because we think that's where the most I/O is going to be happening. And later in the show, we're going to get into some secret sauce that Avid's really excited about. We've done some shows on it before, and that's Media Central Editorial with a server. But before we get there, let's break down some of the pieces of what today's show is about. All right, Avid Media Composer. Other slide. Is available to work in work groups in 3 flavors. There's a low-cost solution that's Media Composer subscription, but that doesn't allow collaboration. That's for the independent editor. So what I'm showing here is the Ultimate. The Ultimate is basically their go-to subscription product. It includes Media Composer. It includes Symphony for color processing and color editing. It also includes PhraseFind and ScriptSync for working with scripted productions. That product is also available as a cross-grade. What is the cross-grade? Let's say you're someone who's had Media Composer Perpetual from years ago. You let it lapse. You didn't do your support updates. What are you going to do? Well, you can cross-grade to the Media Composer cross-grade, which we still have a few left at that $299 price that was the Christmas holiday special. Don't tell anyone, we'll get in trouble. We still have a few left, so we're allowed to sell them at this price. So if you have an old Media Composer that timed out. And then, of course, there's also the perpetual versions. If you still believe in owning the software, you absolutely can. We have it available for $12.79. I think the Media Composer subscription at this point, Ultimate, is a better deal, especially with the new Symphony color tools that came out in December. What's your thought on that, Glen?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, for the price point, first off, $4.99 for a year is great. You've got full symphony, feature set. You've got everything in there that there's nothing you can say, oh, we haven't got the right machine. This software can't do it. So it's definitely the right price point. It's the right feature set. And again, you do get the collaboration capability. You get, all the tools you need.
Cool. So you got to run that puppy on something. And this is what I think is really exciting about. Years ago, one of the things Videoguys was famous for was our DIY workstations. And that was a real thing that people needed because they need to know what spec can I buy in order to run an Adobe capture card solution going back from Pinnacle, from Matrox, from Canopus, and these products didn't always work in every computer. So we got into this DIY computer concept, and that was very popular, and it brought a lot of traffic to our website. But the truth of the matter is the software has gotten so good, and the computers are so strong that you don't really need a DIY type computer to do your own kind of work at home if you're a home video editor. But that's not necessarily true when you're part of a project team. If one machine goes down in the project team, if one machine's just not up to snuff, it's going to bring the whole thing down. So what we tried to work with the folks at HP is they came out with these new Z workstations that are killer. And these machines are so fast, so reliable. And we said, we want to get a workstation for under $5,000 that's going to run Avid. But what was important is we did recognize that a lot of these shops could have Adobe Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop running on them as well. So let's talk about what this machine has. We have an 8-core Xeon processor. We have a NVIDIA Quadro FX P2000 graphics card. We have 32 gigs of RAM, and we have a 512 SSD boot drive. Now, why is that important? A lot of people always still ask us about what's the right stuff to put in a computer, and we feel that what you need is a balanced machine. And Glenn, I think you'll agree with me. Can we talk a little bit about that balance that we want to see in any workstation for video editing?
Yeah, so I mean, Avid did this a number of years ago, and Adobe's followed. Everybody's kind of followed. The beauty is, your CPU is very good at certain things. GPU is good at things. So by being able to have a machine and hardware that can take advantage, and Avid software and Adobe now, everybody's kind of tuned their environment, be able to look at effects and say, okay, great, this is a CPU intensive effect, so we're going to process it there. This is a graphics intensive effect, we're going to send that over to the GPU to process that. And then of course, the RAM and the hard drives, all that play into it. It's that whole environment of being able to offload the process and the performance to the right piece of hardware at the time.
Yeah, and one of the things that's happened is different development teams are developing towards different aspects of computer power. But in the last 2 years, NVIDIA has really unlocked GPU technology that, quite frankly, leaves AMD in the dust. And we strongly, and I can't say this strong enough, if you're a video editor, if you're a content creator, you want to be on NVIDIA graphics. I think one of the reasons why people are jumping off of the Mac platform is because they're stuck in an AMD world where the only thing in the world that's accelerated for AMD is Final Cut. Any other software you run on your Mac, Media Composer, anything from the Adobe suite will give you inferior performance to a similarly configured PC with an NVIDIA Quadro card. Or any NVIDIA gaming card for that matter. Now, people say, Gary, why do you put the Quadro card in there instead of the gaming card? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I'm going to go into the 3 that are most important to us. Number 1 is we're giving you 10-bit color space, which we're assuming you might be doing some color finishing and stuff that's really important there. And you may not now, but you're going to be doing it at some point. The world's going 4K. It's going to ultra high density, HDR footage, the high range, and that's going to be a factor. The other thing that you get is the Quadros are built more to be run at peak level for a long period of time. Gaming cards heat up, they burn out. The truth of the matter is gamers play games for a long time, but a gamer who's playing a game for 4 or 6 hours, that's a kid. We know who it is. It's pro gamers and stuff like that, but most gamers don't. But an editor is sitting at that thing for 8 hours, and in a post shop, that computer may be used by 3 different people over the course of a 24-hour period and never really cool down. And then the third reason we recommend the Quadro cards is they tend to have some drivers, some firmware. They just run a little bit more reliable and steady during the whole way. So we always want a quadro card. So it's a balancing act. And what I tell people is you gotta balance the CPU, the GPU, and the RAM. If you're too little of either, your machine's not gonna work up to snuff. What do I mean by that? Well, Avid doesn't really do as much GPU stuff as Adobe does. So when we're recommending a machine, we're putting in a P2000 card, where Avid might say, you can go away with a smaller quadro card. I don't want to see that, because I know at some point you might be putting Premiere or After Effects on that machine. RAM, we have a simple rule with RAM, and that is you never want to have less RAM than you have cores in the computer, and we like to get as close to 2 to 1 as we can, if possible. So, we're starting our basic 8-core machine. We're putting 16 gigs of RAM, 2 to 1, very nice, 32 gigs of RAM. In fact, let's go into that machine again, because I want to review the specs again. It's 8 cores, 32 gigs of RAM. Why do we have 32 gigs of RAM instead of 16? That's a great question. We do that because we know as a content creator, that extra RAM is going to come in handy with things like After Effects, and even with some of your previs and previews and things like that from your timeline. But then again, sometimes you need more than a Z4. And when you need more than a Z4, you need what we call dual Xeon processors. And if you're getting into dual Xeon processors, that's a whole nother level of machine, and that's the Z6 or Z8 workstations. These get expensive. I started by saying if I was going to build a really fantastic Z8 machine, what would I put in it to really push the limits? But I had a rule that I couldn't go over 10K. So I got really close. I've got dual 12-core processors. I've got a P4000 graphics card that is killer. I've got 64 gigabytes of RAM and the 512 SSD. We came in at 9650 on this Videoguys Select. But then I said, whoa, baby, some people aren't going to have that much. So what can we build for 7,500? Couldn't really build something on the Z8 platform to get to that price. But we turned around with the Z6 and we could get dual 10 cores, P4000, 64 gig, 512. So these are the killer machines that we have in there. Now, Glenn, you and I talk about this sometimes. If you've got 4 or 5 editors, everyone doesn't need a machine of this level, correct?
Correct. I mean, it's, again, you might have, one editor that is just, prepping and organizing in bins and doing basic logging. Really the horsepower machine is going to be the playout machine, effects machine, the machine that's being used for digitizing and capture. So in many cases you have, again, one workhorse machine that's in your facility, can handle every IO, can process everything very quickly, and then you've got the feeder machines that you offload things to.
Cool. And now what I want to talk about a little bit is that we feel you need IO also. We know we're in a digital workflow where everything is online. But, at times you got to get video in, and at times you got to get video out. So Avid came out with a really cool box that we have the picture of right here in this, and that's the DNX ID. This is a front and back. It's actually, the slim box, folks, so you don't think it's bigger than it is. This is a great box for getting 4K HDR footage in or out of your computer. And I think a lot of people are going to use it just for play out when you want to drive that big monitor, but we also know that there's a lot of different ways to get footage into a computer right now. And if you want to get 4K and you don't have it from a file-based system that's working, it could be a problem. The other thing is that sometimes you want to have every file be flat. So the beauty of this product, it has the DNX chip in it. So you can capture everything into DNX. So one of the things I recommend if you're a work group, a workhouse, is bring everything into DNX. Keep it all DNX. The files move around better, the video editing goes faster, the encoding, everything works better if you have a flat file system. Now that's not saying you can't use other file formats. It's just saying it makes it better and more efficient. If you're an Apple guy, you can go ProRes. I'm fine with that. Adobe doesn't have any intermediate codec that they prefer. They support DNX and ProRes, but I'm a big DNX fan. I can remember the first time I saw it. I think I saw that you were down there when you were working at Avid. I walked downstairs. This is before ProRes even existed. They were showing me this codec thing to allow HD editing to happen. I flipped out, thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I go to NAB. And Apple shows ProRes. You guys still have the NXAD hidden in the basement.
Yep.
But there's also the bigger box that's available, and that's the DNX IQ. So, Glenn, explain to me why someone might want a DNX IQ versus a DNX ID?
I'm sorry, my phone was ringing.
Explain to us
I
why
missed the question.
someone might want a DNX IQ versus a DNX ID, because it is about 4 times the price.
Yeah, so it really becomes, again, if you go back to the ID versus, it's the inputs. So you're going to be limited by the number of inputs on the box. So that will give you more baseband inputs. HDSDI, quad link. It's going to give you the HDMI. So it's giving you more inputs. It's giving you more outputs as well. So it's just giving you the overall broader band of inputs and outputs and just finer control. And there's some really good secret sauce in that box as well for the ways that you're viewing vector scopes, and setting controls on it.
So that's why I said, let's marry that with the big machine, which is probably going to be doing the color grading and some of the color stuff. And Avid actually has 3 I/O boxes available. So I just want to run through the pricing for everyone. The DNX ID is $9.99. It's Thunderbolt 3 only. The good news is these Z workstations are now available with Thunderbolt. The prices that I'm showing you don't have Thunderbolt because Videoguys is running a promo. If you buy a Z workstation and a Thunderbolt device, a Thunderbolt 3 device, or a Thunderbolt 3 storage, we're going to give you the Thunderbolt 3 card free. We're also showing the DNX IV product, which is $29.99. It's mislabeled in this slide. I apologize. And the DNX IQ is $38.99, and then the PCIe card would be about another $300-400 more. All right, now let's talk about the product that is the heart of any workgroup solution. This is what separates Avid from everyone else. It's their shared storage solution, the Nexus Pro. The Nexus Pro 40 terabyte with a Dell switch. We're showing the Nexus Pro 40, the price you're seeing here, the 10375 is just for the Nexus Pro. It doesn't include the Dell switch, but that's combined with the Dell switch will let multiple editors work. It's easy to set up. Glenn, I'm going to kick it over to you. Tell us a little bit about the Nexus Pro and why it is the best solution for Avid video editors.
Yeah, so I mean the big thing with that is, Avid first off has been in this business of shared storage for editorial environments for years. And they kind of pioneered a lot of it. A lot of people have copied what they've done or tried to copy what they do. So you've got, first off, a very robust operating system within the Nexus environment. The hardware is built server class hardware. It's very robust, redundancy built all throughout the thing. And then it's what it brings to the workflow is, you've got the Nexus software that can control the user. So you can set privileges, you can set workspace write privileges and read privileges. You can set up workspaces. The way to look at it for people that have never really used it is you've got 40 terabytes of storage in this machine. Now you can make all 40 terabytes available to everybody, or you can carve out pieces and say, okay, great, we're going to give 10 terabytes to this project. We're going to give another 10 terabytes to this one. We're going to give a terabyte to our graphics department, and we'll hold the other in reserve. And that is all flexible. So if suddenly one project's at 10 terabytes and you need more, you can dynamically expand it, and it doesn't affect anything. It's not shutting down the computers. It's not doing anything. It's just instantly available to those users that are on that machine.
Yeah, so it can resize and rebuild the workspaces available for all the users on the fly. You can also set up different levels of redundancy and security depending on what the user is doing. And the other thing that I think is so important about Nexus is it's built to scale. So you just plug another one onto the switch, you double your storage. You don't have to rerun anything. It just sees the additional space and it's available. As soon as basically you plug it on, it's 3 or 4 clicks to get it mounted, and you're off to the races. If you're going to get to 3 or 4, which you can go 4 high, which is 160 terabytes, at that point we recommend either getting a second Dell switch or a bigger switch just to handle all that data. But it's a great product. It is super stable, and the biggest thing is that there are other shared storage solutions out there, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. What I think the biggest strength of Nexus is you are on the same platform for $10,000 that the bigger heart and soul products that are being used to run the Olympics, to run the presidential election results, to edit Hollywood movies. The full Nexus architecture is the same thing whether you're getting a Nexus Pro or getting a full E4 system. And by the way, if your shop is bigger than a small workgroup shop, we'd be happy to substitute that Nexus Pro with a more elaborate Avid storage solution, an E2 or an E4. But we're going to focus on Nexus Pro because we're focusing on that small work group. The other thing that's important about the Nexus Pro that we feel separates it is you don't need an IT specialist to keep it running. You know, yeah, you're gonna want someone with a little IT background to help you get it set up. I know at times we've had some complicated installs, so we called Glenn and said, can you remote into this person's Nexus, help them out, fix it out? And I think your success rate is like 95 out of 100. It's usually something pretty simple of a setting or something, but once you get that Nexus set up with minimal training for one person to be the administrator, it just goes and goes and goes. I mean, it's so reliable and so stable. I can't stress that enough. Glenn, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, there's great stories about, you know, all of not only just Nexus, but ISIS. I mean, again, this shows Avid strengths, but Nexuses that have run and never been shut down and run 24/7. And, you know, there's a great story of one that, you know, finally after years started showing some issues. They paid for an on-site tech. He came in and started looking at it, and the thing had run for so long it was just filled with dust. All they did was vacuum it out, clean out some of the dust so it had the airflow, and it's up and running. So that's just, you know, these things are built for performance. They are super easy to administer. Sure, sometimes when you get into setup, you can run into a few hiccups. Typically, it's really generic networking stuff that somebody just didn't realize they needed to do. Biggest thing is sometimes you have to change the ports that you're plugged into because there's so many ports. Other thing you got to realize you can figure it on one, and then you go to the other one to actually another port to actually talk to it. The other thing too is you did mention that, you know, the scalability of being able to just scale it by adding another set of drives to it.
Another engine.
That also increases performance, which is the beauty of this. Is it's not like by scaling it up larger, you're not losing performance. You're actually gaining more performance because you now have more spinning disks and you can get higher capacity and higher user count that way.
Great. So now I want to talk about, we've talked about HP workstations. We've talked about Nexus Pro. We've talked about the I/O hardware. Let's talk about what we're really looking like. Let's say you're a small shop. Maybe you have a couple of independent editors already. You want to grow up, become a little bit bigger. So we put together an example of a workflow project and what it would cost. Eddie, if you could bring that up full screen for a sec, perfect. So we've got in here a Z8 machine spec'd out. We've got two Z4s, one with Thunderbolt, one without. We've got a 40 terabyte Nexus. We've got the Dell switch. We've got a DNX IQ and an ID. Kind of what you saw on the slide. 3 seats of Media Composer Ultimate subscription. This is coming to $38,000, which when you think about it, that's starting a brand new video editing suite. This is something that, you know, 4 or 5 years ago was going to cost you $100,000. 10 or 15 years ago, it was going to cost you $500,000. You know, it's amazing how the prices have come down. And once again, we're giving you this as an example, folks. You give us a call. We're going to work with you on speccing out the computers you need, how many seats you need. You know, this can also support, you can have a couple of guys on Premiere. You can have someone with a MacBook on Final Cut. It all works together. That's the beauty of Nexus and the beauty of this solution. But we wanted folks to get an idea of what a small workflow solution should be. So if you are a small ad agency, if you want to be a small post house, maybe you're making your independent movie and you realized, hey, I can't do this alone. I need some other people to help me work on this. Here's an example of what you need to get started. And the beauty of this is best of class, best products. We're not cutting any corners here, folks. You're getting, these HP workstations are built like tanks. I've seen editors use them to stand up and reach stuff on the top shelf of their desk. They are solid. They are built to perform forever. They are relatively quiet considering how powerful they are, and they are loaded and balanced systems that we know you're going to get the most out of. And now let's talk about maybe you're bigger than that. Maybe you're going to be 5 or 10 guys and you're looking to really develop a project that's got, maybe it's a reality show where you've got 3 or 4 cameras shooting 8 hours a day for a week. I mean, that's an enormous amount of footage that's got to be sifted and sorted through. And at that point, you need something beyond just the Nexus file system. You need Media Central editorial management. Do we have that clip to play? We're going to play a clip now.
Editorial management is all about helping you work faster and smarter, but as part of a team. So inside of Media Composer, you'll see Media Central editorial management. This is a window into all of your assets, all of your media, not just in your project, but across your entire Nexus system. I'm currently in the Browse app, so I'm just browsing to take a look and see what I have. But again, the nice thing is I may want to bring in some assets from another project. Here we have our clips. And if I double click, it simply drops that into my source window, and the bin relating to that project opens up inside of Media Composer.
Cool. And what's so cool about Media Central Editorial Management is you get this asset management product, but you don't have to have Media Composer to access it, Glenn, do you? You can access it with what? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so that's really the beauty of it is, you think about it, and you're accessing it through a Chromium browser. So basically, open up your browser. You now can browse all the assets on your Avid. You can actually start marking ins and outs. You can make notes, and all it takes is any machine. It can be a machine that's just a laptop. Open up Chromium. Open up your Chromium browser, and now you're working within the Avid environment and making notes and prepping clips for Editorial.
Excellent. And I want to go over the pricing on that. The way this works is you buy it by the seat. A 5-pack is a starter pack for $5,000, but you can get 2, 5, 10, 20, 25 packs. It depends how big your team is, but this is great because now you can have assistant editors. You can have just metadata taggers. You can have different people in the organization just come in and immediately pick up that Chrome browser and start working and organizing clips and preparing what's going to be gone for the next day. And in fact, you can even kind of order the clips to get like a rough cut to play out sequentially. So it's a very powerful software, and of course it requires a server to run on. So let's bring this slide up and say you're a bigger team now. We're going to start with that base team that we had. We're going to add 2 more Z4 computers. We're going to add 2 more seats, a Media Composer Ultimate. We're going to add the editorial management for 5 people, and then we're going to add a server for it. It brings that whole total to just under $60K. And now think about this. This is 5+ people editing, plus up to 5 people on the media management who could be the editors or people on Chromium books or any combination thereof. You can also have people on Adobe Premiere, on After Effects, on Resolve if you want, based on the kind of computers you have here. If you're looking to build a solution, I think this is a great solution. And once again, Videoguys is here to help you spec out everything you need. So you give us a call. We're going to say, what computers do you have? Oh, this one's good enough for this one maybe not. Maybe we could get away with only 3 computers. Maybe you turn around and you say, guys, I need more storage. Give me 2 Nexus engines. Not a problem. I don't need any I/O. I need more I/O. Whatever you need, we will work with you to get you the best solution you need. And then we're going to work with Glenn to make sure that when the stuff gets to you, it's all ready to go. So it'll be a combination of loading some stuff on a server before it gets to you, and it might be having Glenn tunnel into your machine to help you out to get it all running. But we're going to give you that extra level of support and installation that we think separates us from other people out there. Now, if you've got a local guy, a local Avid dealer who can come in and deliver this stuff to you, great, fantastic. We're not saying to get it from us instead of them. We love those guys too. But I think we offer something for the small team that's real attractive, and I think we have a way of bringing it to you, and we know our stuff. And if you go to any of the Avid community, Avid Facebook page, you know the Videoguys reputation. We've been long, tight friends of Avid, working closely. We value our partnership with Avid. That's why we do webinars like this, and that's why we have a guy like Glenn who we can call to help us, who's a workflow specialist like that. Because
Gary, so too, I just want to come back to that slide that you had on. When you look at that, upgrading it with that editorial management, you say 5 there. It is really potentially 10, because you can have 5 people full-time editors, then you can have 5 people using editorial management, and they don't even have to be local. That's the neat thing too, is if you get VPN access into your network, you can have somebody, whether it be a producer or an offsite editor, who can log in and start looking at this. So you can have producers that do remote review and approval. So it's really opening up the amount of people that can touch and be involved in that workflow.
That's a great point. And once again, we don't want to oversell what you can do remotely. We're not talking about remote editing. We're talking about being able to remotely see clips and log and stuff like that. But still, it's a whole workflow solution, as you see on the slide. There's a lot to it. It could support 3 machines, it could support 5 machines, you could support 10 machines. Whatever you need, we can get you with it. We'll work with the equipment you have already. So we're really excited. Glenn, thank you so much for being on the show today. And
my pleasure.
We'll bring you in on future shows when we have to. And now I think we're just going to talk about what's coming up in the future. Oh, we went We went really long on this show, folks, and I'm sorry, but when we get into Avid workflows, we get so excited sometimes.
We get passionate.
It's true. It's a passion. So let's talk about some of the things we're going to be passionate about in the upcoming weeks. We've got a show coming up with Stephen Haywood, who's going to talk about live streamer and Wirecast and what he's been doing with that. So a Wirecast show. Then on February 26th, we're really excited. It's a new product. It's a new bonded solution for video called the Videoguys. I know we thought we were going to do a show about this a little earlier. We hit some hiccups internally here with scheduling. I apologize for that. But when you see how easy this is, a bonded solution that you can set up and get going yourself, real impressive. Great job by the folks at Video. We're going to have John the Man Landman on the show, so that's always fun when he's in town. And then March 5th, the scoop on storage, G Technology Raids, Thunderbolt 3, USB-C. We're hoping to have some news about some new configurations coming out from them. That's very exciting. So, guys, I want to thank you for giving me a half hour today. I ran a little long and I apologize. This is Gary at Videoguys. You can always call us at 800-323-2325. We're here to help you understand what your needs are. Today's show was about video editing, Avid video editing, but of course these solutions work with Adobe Premiere as well, and After Effects, DaVinci Resolve. Bring in whatever you want. We don't really care what you edit on, but we think from a workflow point of view, building your workgroups workflow around the Avid architecture and the Avid workflows in the long run is going to save you a lot of money, make you more productive, and that allows you to be more creative. And that's a winning combination. Just like HP computers and Avid is a winning combination, so is just being more creative and more productive. Guys, thank you very much for watching today's show. Videoguys, 800-323-2325. Videoguys Newsday Tuesday, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Remember all that stuff. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Share the love. Let people know how much you like us. Thank you very much. Gary, peace out.
Videoguys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.